All right, so let's break down the long jump into 4 different phases. The first phase is the approach. That's your run up. That is where I'm running and building up speed, right? Because if I just stand here and do a broad jump, I can only jump so far. If you're running, more speed will help you jump further. So all I have to do is a few steps, you can already see that I jumped further, right? So when I come through here, we break down long jump into its phases. The first phase is the approach or your run up. You're building up speed. Second phase is your takeoff. So I've got a board right here. The takeoff is the moment I create that jump. I'm running horizontally. At some point, I've got to go vertically and get off the ground. That's your takeoff. It's the jump. Once I'm in the air and I leave the ground at toe off, or the moment I leave the ground, I'm in the air, right? Birds take flight, so that's our flight phase. When I'm in the air doing all this stuff, that's my flight. Then, right before and at the moment I touch the sand and make ground contact, that is my landing phase, okay? So, to really break this down, the faster you run, the further you'll be able to jump. The faster you run, the further you can jump, right? As long as you can control it at takeoff. So you can't just be the fastest guy in the world, but if you get down here and you can't actually jump, if you can't convert that horizontal speed into a vertical, then you're just gonna. And so I like to use the example. So I'm gonna use the example. I got a bag of chalk right here, okay? Now, I'm gonna take this chalk and I'm gonna throw it straight. Okay? You notice it goes straight and then it comes down, right? So if I run really, really fast but I don't jump, I'm just gonna stay low and come straight down. Now if I take this chalk and throw it straight up, ready? I'm gonna zoom out so you can see this. Throw it straight up, it just comes straight down, right? So if I run through here and I just jump as high as I possibly can, I'm just gonna come straight down. What do I want? I want to come out here and I want a perfect angle. Now for a projectile or something you throw, think of a football. If I throw something, if you don't have any wind resistance and lack of wind, a 45-degree angle is gonna be perfect. That's about like this. Okay, so boom, perfect. Okay, but here's something you have to remember. When you jump, you're actually jumping from about your belly button. That's your center of mass. So I'm here, and so think about when I throw something. I throw it, it leaves the ground right here. Okay, my hand's about 7 feet tall. So when I throw it, it leaves the ground, and then it goes up, and then it comes down. Now it doesn't just come down to that 7 foot tall where my hand is, right? It doesn't stop, right? It keeps going at an angle. So we talk about our takeoff. We want to jump. We're actually jumping from here. This is coming up and it's coming down. Now we land in the sand, but I'm not going to land here, right? Throw the ball. It's not catching right here. It's going to keep going to the ground. So what I want is when I jump, I don't ever want to just put my feet down here. I want to have them out in front of me so that my body can keep going on that angle. All right, so now I talk about what are the 4 phases. Well, your approach is you're building up the speeds. Take off, you're converting that horizontal velocity into a vertical and you're creating what's called a hinge moment. Think of a door, right? That door just hinges. So the less knee bend, the better. Boom, I come up. And now flight phase, what I'm doing is I am moving or staying active in the air. To me, this is super important because if I just jump and do nothing and freeze, conservation of angular momentum means I'm gonna fall on my face. So when I just jog in and I'm gonna freeze, you'll notice that I just start to rotate forward. Boom, 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 boom. Right? So what do we do? Well, you could be passive or active. Passive means you're doing nothing, you're just freezing. Active means you're doing something, and you're more likely to be in control of your body and in control of your movement. So I like to be active, and whether that's sail, but then you do a secondary movement, hang and you do a secondary movement, whether you're doing hitch kick, it's all about getting your body in the right position for landing. All right, this is very important because I build up all this speed from the moment I jump. I cannot get any further. The moment I leave the ground, I will not jump any further. All I can do is lose distance. Okay? So the moment I leave the ground, unless I can fly and flap my wings or do something, I'm gonna follow a set path to the ground. But we do things in the air and we do things at landing to minimize loss of distance, which means we get the most out of our jump. So I'm moving all this stuff, and then right when I go into my landing phase, I'm getting my feet out in front of me so that when I make contact, they're out in front of me and I can sit into it. Boom. Okay? So 4 phases: approach, takeoff, flight, landing. And I'll break all of those down in more advanced and intermediate series on my website. You can go check those out. But for now, let's move on with the basics.